Jason's a honeybee, the Irish like to F. And can you spend Valentine's Day with an ex? All this and more on today's Last Looks. Places, people, it's time for Last Looks.
It's the last looks at last episode's movie. At last we can talk about all the mistakes we made and the omissions we left out accidentally. And Paul can solve your problems on Paul's helpline, and then he can talk to Jason Manzicus about some TV. Last looks, it's last looks. Last looks, it's last looks.
Hello, my swans and honeybees. I'm your host, Paul Scheer, a.k.a. Tall John. Welcome to How Did This Get Made? Last Looks. If you have a better way for me to get into places, everyone, Last Looks, I'm open to it. I feel like I need something there. I haven't quite found it yet, but I'm open to your suggestions. Head on over to our Discord, discord.gg/HDTGM, and give me some suggestions, or my Discord. You could go either way. Anyway, today you are going to get to voice your issues on a Wild Mountain Thyme. That's right. And Jason and I are thrilled to be joined by our good friend Adam Pally. That's right. How Did This Get Made? All-Star is joining us today to chat about his new film and really a lot of other things. But his new movie, Who Invited Charlie, is really good, so you should definitely check that out. Plus, we're going to reveal next week's movie, and I will try to solve your problems on Paul's Helpline. But first things first, a shout out to Mark Granger for that amazing theme song. We love these songs. If you have a Last Looks episode theme song, please send it to howdidthisgetmade at earwolf.com, but keep them short. 15 to 20 seconds is best. Let's get into it. I know I talk a lot about movies, but there are bigger things in the world. You got problems? Let me solve them. It is now time for Paul's Helpline.
Yeah. Tell me, feeling lonely, feeling angry. I don't know what to do, but Paulie, he got the helpline. You're gonna take time and leave you feeling fine. It's the helpline.
Ooh, thank you, Dave Tanner, for that slow jam theme. This week we're saying goodbye to Paul's Helpline and bonjour to Paul's Love Line. That's right. I put a call out to all those looking for Valentine's Day love and tips. So let's see if I, the love doctor, can help you, hopeless romantics, aim Cupid's arrow. All right, Carmen, what do you got?
Hi, Paul. This is Carmen. I am in need of some Valentine's Day advice. My husband and I have been together for 8 years, married for 5. Also, our first date anniversary is 6 days before Valentine's Day. However, we recently adopted a 2-year-old, so we are officially stuck at home. So would love your advice on some Valentine's Day date ideas for staying at home after kids go to sleep. Thank you so much.
All right, Carmen. Great question. Let me tell you, Carmen, this is something I deal with all the time. And you know what? A little goes a long way. Why don't you both make a meal together? And you can either make the entire meal together, or you can take one part and he takes the other, and then you join together at the dinner table. Here's the thing. Valentine's Day is about being with the person you love and just having a nice time. You don't need the pomp. You don't need the circumstance. Is that it? Pomp and circumstance? Yes. All you need is time together. So open a bottle of wine if you drink wine. If you don't drink wine, open up a bottle of whatever you drink and make a dinner together. Have some laughs. Have some good times. If you want to add an addendum to it, you know what? Get some of your favorite treats. Make a little movie night. Just make it special, but you can do that without anything else. And if you want to throw all this away, order in from one of your favorite spots. I know DoorDash and Postmates got a lot. And just get your favorite meals. You could both get your own favorite meals. I want to hear about how it goes. Comment. I hope that helps. Next up, our man from Minneapolis, Sam. What can I do you for?
Hey, Paul. Sam from Minneapolis here. Long-time listener. Know you were looking to give some Valentine's Day advice, so I feel like I've got a doozy for you here. Me and my fiance, we've been together for about 4 years now, broke up this last weekend. We currently live together, and it's looking like we're going to be living together for the next 2 weeks while we kind of figure out where to go from here. So I'm kind of wondering if you've known anyone in a similar boat, or, you know, have any advice for how to live together civilly in not a big apartment, and then also what do I say anything about Valentine's Day on that day, or do I just, keep my mouth shut, keep the jokes in, all of that? Love the show. Thanks, man. Have a good one. Bye.
Ooh, that's got to hurt. Now, I don't know many specifics of this relationship, but I'll tell you this much, Sam. Here's the deal. Call it out. Be in front of it. If you are on good terms, and it seems like you have to be, or if you don't have to be, you got to be for 2 weeks. Make it easy, make it light, make it fun. Don't make any sort of jokes that make it feel uncomfortable. And honestly, Sam, at this point, get the fuck out of the house. I mean, honestly, on Valentine's Day, leave. You don't have to see each other. You don't have to do anything with each other. You don't have to do anything. Now, if you'd like to, do you want to be civil with each other, you could just say, hey, I know it's Valentine's Day. I know it's coming up. I don't want it to be weird. Maybe there's an outreach. Again, I don't know where you're at. Did one of you break up with the other? Is there weirdness? There's a lot of variables I don't know, but I think calling it out before it happens and then getting the fuck out of the house is probably the best thing to do. Go see a movie, not with your ex. All right. And just living with your ex, I've done that for a little bit. It's tough. It's tricky. You know what? Be respectful, be nice, be open, chat, and maybe with the pressure of the relationship off, you actually get some closure that you so desperately need because you're not trying to rekindle, you're just trying to figure out what happened. And that actually is something that has happened to me, and it's kind of wonderful. Anyway, next up, Cecily from Chicago.
Hi, Paul. This is Cecily from Chicago. I'm calling because you said you were some sort of love guru. Well, I have been seeing someone for about 6 months, and I think that I am in love with him, but we haven't, said that to each other yet. We do a lot of the, I adore you, and, you mean so much to me, kind of a dance around the word. And part of me wants to wait for him to say it, because, I asked him to be my boyfriend, but I'm just wondering, is 6 months too soon? Should I just bring it up? Should I just wait for us to say it in a cute, quirky way together? I don't know. I'm freaking out about it. Okay, thank you. And I love the show, and I love you and Jason and June. Okay, bye.
Oh, Cecily, you know what? You're already doing it. When you dance around with the word love, who are you fooling? What does that mean? If I adore you, I do this, you're doing it. Just take the plunge. You know what? You could say, I just want to tell you something. I've enjoyed being with you. It's been so lovely to be with you. And I know there's a lot of energy put around this word, but I just want to continue having a wonderful time with you. And I love you. You could diffuse it, because sometimes you don't know how people take that word love. But I got to tell you, as someone who has not initiated the love in certain relationships, it's wonderful. It's 6 months. You know what? What else are you waiting for? Say I love you. He freaks out. Good. Get the fuck out of there. You don't need to be with somebody who's still on the fence at 6 months. And if we're holding back, I love you, what else are they holding back? Go for it. You asked them out. Seems like this person is not going to step up to the plate, and that's okay. But they want to be stepping up. But you just sometimes you got to show them the way. And I bet you it will be received perfectly. All right. Well, that's it for the Love Doctor. I hope I helped. Let me know if I did. And remember, you can always call Paul's helpline. And because this weekend is a Super Bowl, Paul wanted me to ask you, am I doing a character where I'm out of my character? This not me? I don't know what I'm doing now. Anyway, this weekend is a Super Bowl, which got me thinking about sports movies. So even if you don't need advice, feel free to give me a call. Tell me your favorite underrated or overrated sports flick. Blue Crush from me. One of the best surfing movies ever. That is a fictionalized account of surfing. Anyway, if you got a sports movie, hot take, I want to hear it. Give me a call at 619-PAULASK. That's 619-PAUL-ASK. And we'll see you in just a second. But before I go, I want to let you know that if you are in Telluride, Colorado, Jason, June, and I will be there all weekend long doing shows at Telluride Comedy Festival. We'll be there on Saturday night doing a version of How Did This Get Made? It's not exactly How Did This Get Made, so don't worry about it. Don't freak out about it. It's just something we do every year in Telluride. Go check it out. And every Thursday night on Twitch, twitch.tv/friendzone. Also on YouTube, you can check out Rob Hubel and I in a little show that we call Thursdays with Rob and Paul. We'll be right back shortly with your questions, comments, and concerns on Wild Mountain Thyme. But first, you see I tricked you one more time. I have some bonus content for you. That's right. From our Morbius show, I wanted to share with you something that we shared with the audience to celebrate what was supposed to be our 300th episode. I reached out to a special guest. I'm still doing the voice. I reached out to a special guest from the movie Sleepaway Camp to shed some light on that episode's biggest debate. In the movie's cold open, who was the person on the dock and what was the relationship to the people on the boat? We normally save this stuff for our live audience, but I thought, you know what? Let me give you a little sneak peek of the fun stuff that we do for our live audience. So check it out. This is, I think, the definitive answer, although I found myself even more confused. Before we get into Morbius, since this is the 300th episode of How Did This Get Made?
Now, we're saying... We're retconning things and saying this is 300.
Well, this won't even be in the episode. This is just special for Chicago.
Yeah, that's right, Chicago. Guess what? Nobody else got anything special. You think fucking Cleveland got something special? Nope. It was a casino.
So, but this is exactly what I've been sitting on this for a long time because I knew this was going to be the 300th episode. So I wanted to plan something special for both of you. And me, because I really don't know what this is either.
Is it a proposal?
It's not a proposal. We're already married.
Oh.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
We'll tell you about it after the show. Cleveland was wild. All right, so here's the deal. What you watched before the show started was a debate about Sleepaway Camp. Like how, who, what. So I went to the source. And we are going to finally get an answer about who was on the shore. Check it out.
What?
Hi, Paul, Jason, and June. It's me, Felissa Rose, Angela from Sleepaway Camp. And I heard from the amazing Paul, and we were discussing a few things. First of all, I want to say happy 300 episodes. And finally, I need to maybe help with a couple of the questions. Okay, so what was the relationship between the two on the beach? Husbands in love, married, madly in love. I love love. And also the three people in the water, friends, just messing around, having a good time at camp. Hopefully that explains a little bit of the mystery and excitement that is Sleepaway Camp. I always say it's a comedy. So much hilarity going on with the half shirts and the short shorts and the bodybuilding and the boys in the water. But it's all in good fun, and I appreciate you so much for remembering Sleepaway Camp. I want to send you so much hug, so much love, and meet me at the waterfront after the social. Mwah! Don't ever do that. It's a trap. I love you. I love you. Be well. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Wow.
There it is.
I'll talk to you soon.
Okay,
wow,
now,
Paul,
Felissa
that's really
Rose.
special.
She said, I love you. I love you. So she only loves two of us.
Well,
I'm going to guess
I love you.
because
I love you.
paid
Be
for it.
well.
One was Be Well. I'll take Be Well, or maybe it was to you.
That was incredible. I'm still
Thank
confused.
you so much, Paul.
I don't
Honestly,
know if it
I'm even
answered it.
more confused.
I am. Well, I mean, because wasn't the person on the shore a woman? And
thought
weren't they
so.
saying, she said husbands in love.
Husbands in... I
Oh, no, I guess it wasn't. Maybe they were
this.
saying the doctor is, oh boy. What was that, 13 years ago?
Well, we got an answer, but even her answer felt like, don't ask me any follow-ups, because it doesn't really hold water. The people in the water were just people having fun?
Just friends having fun.
All right, well, that was just a little special thing I wanted to
Thank you,
share
Paul.
with
That
you
was
all.
really,
That
really
was-
special.
wow.
Thank you.
Paul, thank you.
Thank
and
you.
to both of you, happy 300th episode.
Happy
Happy
300th,
300th
Jason. Happy 300th,
I'm so glad
Paul.
to be able to just celebrate with Chicago.
Okay, so last week we talked about Wild Mountain Thyme. We had questions. We might have even missed a few things. We might have even misspoke, and our research could have been bad. And here is your chance to set us straight. Fact check us, if you will. It is time for Corrections and Omissions.
Questions and omissions, things we didn't know. Now we get the
Thank you, AC Gravy. All right, let's go to that Discord. Love the Discord. Nat Cat writes, in the beginning of the movie, when Christopher Walken's character is talking about how Anthony takes after the other side of the family, he says that his uncle thought he was a fish, the implication seemingly being that Anthony's problem runs in the family. This would seem to lend to the fact that Anthony actually believes himself to be a honeybee, though this line is so buried in the dialogue that it's not an effective hint. Did his uncle tie a rock around his neck to try to become a fish? Should Rosemary be worried that Anthony will try to fly or some other such honeybee nonsense? That is a good point. I think we talked about this a little bit. The idea that his uncle was not well, mentally not well. And that's, I guess, how you are supposed to take it when you first watch the film. But if it truly is that side of the family just thinks that they're animals, that's even more wild. Because I really heard that open as he thought he was a fish, and then he went to go swim with the... Well, I guess then you're right. He went to go swim with the fishes, and then he killed himself. They thought he drowned because he committed suicide, but he was really just trying to be with his own. Wow, this movie keeps on giving. It's a Russian nesting doll of a film. And you know what? That's what great plays and great films are. Just give you ideas after ideas after ideas. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of people here like what this movie was selling. Early Bird writes, as someone from Ireland, I've been waiting for this heaping pile of steaming leprechaun shit to appear on this podcast for ages. The day the trailer was released, it trended all over Irish social media. It felt like it was all everyone was talking about, and it even was featured on that evening's national news under the headline, Irish Accent Emergency Declared. Here's a clip.
Based on his play Outside Mullingar, Oscar-winning writer John Patrick Shanley directs Wild Mountain Thyme. Its trailer is packed with heavy-hitting Hollywood stars, but it's their accents that have everyone talking. It has compelled airline Ryanair to tweet what it called a public service announcement that Irish people don't sound like this. Dublin Airport chipped in, observing that there's fashion police, grammar police and even airport police, and if there was such a thing as accent police, it said somebody better call them. While the Leprechaun Museum was more succinct, tweeting, even we think this is a bit much.
I love it. Okay, Early Bird's post continues. I'd also like to point out that Ireland was the first country in the world to vote for gay marriage, so Jamie Dornan's homophobia was surprising. P.S. You guys referenced the terrible score. Well, it was composed by Amelia Warner, a.k.a. Jamie Dornan's wife. P.P.S. June Paul, and of course, we fuck. It's the only things that keeps us warm. Holy shit, Early Bird. It's too early to say it, but you know what I'm thinking. Wow. And you supplied your own audio clip? Everybody else has to follow here, because I don't think anyone's going to top that. But let's see. George Glass writes, look, these Irish accents. Both Dornan and Blunt worked with the dialect coach Brendan Gunn, listening to tapes of people from the region. Dornan, who grew up in Belfast, wanted to sound less metropolitan, which is why he doesn't speak in his normal voice. While some on Twitter have ridiculed the accents in the trailer, Shanley said he had to make the accent more accessible to a global audience, and that if the character sounded exactly like his relatives spoke, no one would understand them. So, kind of seems like the dialect coach was a waste of time. Yeah, like, I've worked with a dialect coach. They give you tapes, and then you kind of duplicate the sounds in the tapes. So would that be listening to those accents and then like futzing with it on set? I mean, it's a bizarre Jamie Dornan just speaking your metropolitan accent. I think, honestly, I'm going to say, and maybe this is xenophobic and I apologize, maybe just lose the accents entirely. There's so much happening here that we don't need another barrier, okay? We don't need another hurdle for us. That thing that Christopher Walken said about the fish, I'm fucking missing that. I need it to be, you know what? Sheer, you should have put subtitles on. You know, that's a note to myself that I've said out loud. Let's go to the phones. Rachel from Philadelphia.
Hi, this is Rachel from Philly. I have an important bee correction. Maybe you've gotten a lot of calls about this, but male bees are not worker bees. The worker bees are female. And the male bees are drones, and their only job is to hang around in the hive and fuck the queen. So I just want to let you know and make sure that that was cleared up. And if this guy was comparing himself to a honeybee, assuming that he was saying that he was like a male honeybee, that's what he was saying. Okay, thank you, bye.
Bam! Rachel, nailing it. Okay, so he is a honeybee, so his job is to, in your words, fuck. Also the same words of LeBron James when he broke the scoring record this week. Fuck, man. Thank you, guys. I love it. All right, so he just wants to fuck. Makes the ending a little less magical, if you ask me. All right, here we go. 90 on the Discord writes, why did Rosemary have to travel all the way to New York to see Swan Lake for the first time and never thought to go to any productions in Ireland or even the UK or Europe? She's obsessed with it, but never thought to actually go to a show? As someone from Dublin, I found this hard to watch. Irish people seem confused about picnics, raincoats, and cars. Having said that, the gate thing made perfect sense. Gates should always be closed. I did some door-to-door campaigning before, and the most important thing above clear information and empathy for the people involved was to close the gates on the way out. 90, I have nothing to say to that, but yeah, you are right. You are 100% right. Let's see here. Dr. Guts 1003 writes, at one point, Anthony says that bees hate smoke, which is why he kept encouraging Rosemary to quit. However, that's not entirely accurate. Beekeepers actually use smoke to keep bees calm. During hive inspections, the smoke makes the bees prepare to leave their hive because they believe the hive is on fire. They begin to eat lots of honey, think they need the energy to go out and find a new home. Engorged with honey, their abdomens are so full it makes them hard for them to sting. Then this makes it safer for the beekeeper to inspect the hive. All right, so you are all picking up so much more on the bee stuff than I got in there. So according to this, he should want her to smoke more. It would calm him down in many respects. But he's trying to get energy. Well, I don't know. Maybe when she smokes, he gets, he's getting nervous. Well, no, I think it would still calm him. I just tried to make sense of it because I'm trying to find a new home, but I don't know. Andrew M. writes, Jason failed to mention that he actually played a honeybee in the Apple TV Plus show Dickinson, which is a great show. Check out this clip from a YouTube featurette on the show.
Bee, I was hoping you'd come.
What's up?
How did you get inside?
Girl, I flew through the window.
The bee is a figment of Emily's imagination. The bee shows up every time Emily is feeling a bit lost or alone.
Bee, you're so sweet.
I'm covered in pollen, baby.
Bee.
Jason, he's played a boogie. He's played a honeybee. This guy's unstoppable. I love Jason, and I love his voice, and especially in a honeybee. And if you've not watched Dickinson, it's very, very good. All right, so many great corrections and omissions. But you know what? Why am I even going to pretend to deliberate when I know the answer is here to stay? And that is that this week's winner will not get anything but a great song composed by and sung by Katie Morris. The winner of this week, Corrections and Omissions, is Early Bird. Take it away!
You're inside, really impressed, Paul. You win!
Some restrictions apply. All submissions become property of HDTGM. Prizes have no cash value. Basically, you win nothing.
Thank you, Katie Morris. Thank you, Early Bird. What a great crop of corrections and omissions. If you want to chime in with your own thoughts about the latest episode, hit up the Discord at discord.gg/HDTGM or call us at 619-PAULASK. Coming up after the break, Jason and I are joined by actor, comedian, and our friend Adam Pally to talk about his brand new movie, Who Invited Charlie? Stick around. People, did you notice that every Monday, How Did This Get Made is pulling out old episodes from the vault and then re-releasing them back into the rotation? This week's Matinee Monday was one of our favorite episodes, Deep Blue Sea with Evan Goldberg and Paul F. Tompkins. My hat is a shark fin. Oh, we get into it. Is the parrot real? Is the parrot just in LL Cool J's head? That was one of my favorite episodes. So check that out and make sure you're checking out my YouTube channel where we are hosting little clips of every Matinee Monday. I try to do that every week. All right, let's get ready for it because today we are going back to chatting with our friends. Jason and I were thrilled to Zoom with our good friend Adam Pally And whenever Adam comes on, he comes on for a purpose, and then we get sidetracked. But Adam was a guest on Mac and Me, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2. But today we are chatting about his new movie, Who Invited Charlie, which is out now. Mark Granger, play us in.
Jason and Paul are just gonna chat TV and movie recs. There's nothing more than that. Sure, this whole segment could be summed up in a tweet, but Jason's not on Twitter, so this is where they meet. It's just chat. It's just chat.
Adam, you are, I think, How Did This Get Made All-Star. You were at one of our first ever live shows, or in the early days of us doing live shows, because we came to New York City and did Webster Hall, was that?
Irving Plaza.
Irving Plaza.
Yeah, it was Irving Plaza for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, if I'm not mistaken, right?
And it was so fortuitous because at the time, my son was in the pocket of us watching that movie.
You were immersed at that point.
Yes, so I was able to sit down with you guys and go deep without having to like I rewatched it, obviously.
What are your kids obsessed with now? So we can bring you back.
Oh, it's gone so far left in the small amount of time.
Just Michael Moore documentaries?
Yes, no.
So far left.
So far left. Yeah, they're just they're libertarian almost at this point.
They're watching only Midas Touch TikToks.
Bill O'Reilly concierge service prescriptions, each of them. Cole and Gigi, who are the older ones, are now Wednesday has taken over
of course
their lives. My daughter wants to be her, and my son is doing that thing where he's like, no, I just like it. He's like, it's actually really
It's
good.
actually cool. It's really cool,
good.
actually.
And
It's like a detective story,
Yeah,
Dad.
you and your friends talk about it. He's like, yeah.
Well,
what parts do you like about it? He's like, Wednesday's obviously the coolest part. Right.
Cute.
And then my littlest is into the worst kind of YouTube videos on the planet. It's just I'm sure, Paul, you're in that.
We're in it. I'm watching a lot of Minecraft playthrough videos and things of that nature. It's rough.
Yeah.
But I will say that my kids are also watching old movies. So we just started watching on repeat Will Ferrell's Kicking and Screaming, the soccer movie.
Robert Duvall.
Yeah. And now my kids are they love the Macarena, and they're obsessed that the Macarena is a current dance. So it is no, guys, the Macarena isn't current. That's old when that movie came out. And then last night we went to a Clippers game, and they said, everybody get up and dance. They played that fucking Macarena. And my kid was like, I told you, Dad, it isn't an old dance. I'm like, well, you're right. You're technically right. It is now a stadium of people.
That is the night that your son lost respect for you. My dad didn't know the Macarena was current.
Paul, are you a parent a parent that is are your kids embarrassed by you?
Not yet. No. Oh. They're only 8 and 6. They're not embarrassed yet. I'm sure at one point they will be.
That is the worst feeling.
Oh.
The worst feeling on the planet to be it happens to us regularly. We'll get in the car in the morning and we'll be driving down West Side Highway and some song will come on that my kids lately it's 21, can you do something for me? The kids they love that. They all, and it's so cute, they all do it. So I'll get into it. I'll put it on 21, can you do? And if I don't know what block we're on, if we hit 60th before I'm ready, my daughter will be like, Dad! I'll be like, what? She's like, turn the music off. You can't dance like that. And I'm like, I'm
my
so sorry. And then she'll be like, oh my God, did anyone see us?
Oh.
No, I don't think so. She's like, oh, thank God. All right, bye. And I'm like, oh.
I'm already
just sit in your car and weep.
I'm just
I'm running
slowly
the
driving
opposite
back,
way.
being 21, can you do something for me?
I like to screw with my kids because I do carpool with my kids and our friends. And when we pull up to school, I will have a song on Spotify ready to go, like a Dora the Explorer or Paw Patrol. and I blast that as we pull into school like they were listening to it.
Yeah.
So it does create
great.
this moment where they are frantically trying to distance themselves from this car that is blasting Paw Patrol because they all are like
kids
no,
music.
No. Yeah, they don't want it to be associated with it. So I try to get it
Anything
out.
is better. It reminds me of a story I heard from Abby Elliott, who won't mind me telling it, but she recounted to me a story that I imagined formed her adulthood, where her father's car was being detailed and he picked it up and the windshield wasn't ready. He took it anyway and he drove it to her school and he parked it in front early and he took a bunch of like blood, fake blood. He put it all over himself and he put his body through the windshield and he waited and he lied there and waited until high school got out.
Oh my God.
High school especially.
16-year-old Abby comes walking out.
No.
But
at that point, if Chris Elliott is your dad for that long, you've got to be
I'm sure there's stuff going back and forth, but she said in the split second, she was like, oh my God. And then was like, fucking fuck.
Wait a minute.
Kids were like looking at her and being embarrassed. And she was just like, let's go, Dad. And he like had to slowly like climb off the car. And she was like, she got in the front seat like.
But I guess this now brings it to this moment where your kids are cognizant that you are like an actor. So they are able to recognize, and you are in arguably one of the biggest films that like our kids like. I imagine your kids like Sonic. My kids love Sonic. We have it in the DVD in the car. And I feel like, so does that give you any extra cred, or is that like, where does that fall in? Like, because there are certain things, my kids don't know anything that I do because they can't watch anything that I've really done. Yeah,
It's a help and a hindrance because I have like one young kid and an older kid. So like my 10-year-old is not as psyched. Like he had a story. I don't know if I told you this, Paul, but he last year was in Sleepaway Camp and it rained one day. And when it rains in Sleepaway Camp, they show movies. So they showed Sonic the Hedgehog. And so everyone around him was like, yes. And he was like, oh no.
So this isn't an opportunity for him to be like, fuck yeah, my dad's in this movie.
Well,
I'm about to be, exactly.
I thought that. I would be like, why? Why wouldn't you be like, fucking awesome? And then you realize that like 10 years old, the kids around him at the time, it's like not old enough to like process how cool it is that your dad's in a movie. It's just like your dad's part
You're
of
weird.
Your dad's part of the story or whatever. And so then they saw the name on screen in the beginning. They're like, Cole, is that? And he was like, yeah. And then my first scene is with Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey, like, you know, obviously I play low status. And Jim Carrey is like, all right, Officer Fartface, I'll see you later. And he said for the rest of like, till like Color War, he was Fartface Jr.
Oh, no.
It's like
FFJR.
Yeah, and like you don't think about that, you know? You're just like,
right?
How
yeah,
cool
your kids
is
are
it
caring.
that I'm like in the movie. But then my 5-year-old runs around like being like, my dad's a police officer. Like it's like, all right, you know.
So I mean, I guess the question is, will you be letting them watch Who Invited Charlie, your new film?
Thank you, Paul. That was amazing. That was awesome. You're so good at
Seamless.
this. Like,
look at that
you're
segue.
Really good. You guys should collectively replace Gordon. Really good. You don't need any more guests. You just, if there's two of you, you only need one more guest. I made this movie last year. It's really sweet. It's like a really like sweet family movie. It's like a chance I got to do like a What About Bob or Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh, that's
like,
great.
Really tonally sweet and fun. And so there are a couple things that you don't want your kids to see, but when it premiered, we took my kids, and Danielle and I sat them like in the back. And the first 15 minutes is like really fun and light and funny. And then it gets into the movie. And then like the last 15 minutes is really kind of like feel good and light and funny. So we like went outside and had lunch and hung out. And then I brought him back in for the 15 minutes and everyone clapped and was like crying. And my kids had to kind of be like, oh, okay, I guess I see what this is now, you know? So like, I think that they eventually will see it, but it was like the first time they got to see me like in a movie. with
like
that's
in
kind of
in a
exciting.
theater,
In a
like
theater.
to go to
Yeah.
the movies to see.
Well, they
that's
never
like,
got to go for COVID because COVID.
Oh,
by the
that's
time
true, yeah.
Sonic came
Yeah,
out,
yeah,
we
yeah.
were COVID, so everything was kind of virtual
Wow.
and
Oh,
weird.
that's exciting.
So this was the first time they were like, "Whoa!" and like it was rad. I never had that experience when I lived in California. Like the kids were too young, and I don't know. I just never had the experience of being like, "This is my job." It didn't even feel like a job. It felt like, you know. It was like,
also,
I would
what
be
a
embarrassed.
weird job to try and explain to kids.
Yes, it's
what a
really
strange job to. Oh, the people that you see on this stuff they're not those people. Those are characters that are played by. I'm one. You know, like that whole.
Yes.
By the way, and the movie, you described it as like a What About Bob? And I think it's what I like about it is I think a lot of those movies, like when you watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles or What About Bob, you're like, just leave or get them out of there, call the police, do something. But I think the idea that this movie is about a family escaping New York City during COVID.
Yeah.
And they're trying to like not hide out in the Hamptons, but just kind of be like, we're going to wait out this virus, which we all kind of did. People went in different directions. And then his college roommate, Reed Scott, you play his college roommate, you show up.
Yeah.
So you can't really escape. And I think that puts a different pressure on this movie than like just the comedies that we've seen in the past where it's like, oh, you have to stay invested because of just the premise.
The COVID of it all, you know, obviously I think there's always this worry, even as we're making it, as it was written and producing, everyone's like, no one wants to see a COVID movie. No one wants to see a COVID movie. And I'm like, at this point, what movie is not a COVID movie? Like we're so far down the line of history at this point that it's like, are we just going to, in movie making, do this big thing where it's like, well, if there's a movie between 2000 and 2023, we're just going to pretend that it wasn't that time. You know, like
are we gonna? Does fiction live in a world that did not go through the pandemic?
The pandemic,
you know,
right?
Like
and so that alternate reality to me is like we're so far past that, and I think critics that you know, I was reading a lot of stuff of like, oh, I don't want to see pandemic art, you know, and stuff like that, and it's a little bit. I'm a little bit like, too bad, you know, like that's the world. The world has done this, so art is going to reflect it. And I think Nick Scott, who's the writer who writes on a show called Outer Banks, which my kids love. I've never seen it.
Oh, it's an Australian show, right?
Yeah, it's in Netflix, and it's supposed to be like amazing YA. But I think what he was trying to do was go right against that and be like, you know, for the last 10 years, every sitcom started with an economic crisis and the main character is to move back in with his parents. Like, that, why can't that be COVID?
We have a history.
Like,
we have a history of just making things that focus on World War II. We go back we are always going back to different things. It's like whatever.
Every movie and TV show of the 80s, Lethal Weapon, Magnum PI, Riptide, these are all stories about Vietnam vets returning from the war. The A-Team are all vets. The Lethal Weapon guys they're all grappling with the events of the Vietnam War. That's 80s TV right there.
And I would argue that like the idea of telling any, and not to make it too lofty, but like any artist, like don't be in any way affected by something that you've lived through and gone through. Just to skip over that. Like just create something brand new. It's like, well, no, this is, I mean,
people don't want to be bummed. People, you know what I thought did it well was the Knives Out sequel, Glass Onion.
Yes, they did it great.
I thought they did it great because they were like, nope, this is just the norm now. Yeah. And like everything from some people are wearing N95 masks, some people are wearing cloth masks, all the way to Kate Hudson, who's wearing like just a piece of mesh.
Well, the way
decorative
they told
mesh.
that story too, it's just like that's another joke there. There's more to, you know, and like I think
it helps you inform those characters, you know?
Completely. And so I think we were trying to do that. And it is also it's one of those movies, like it's not a long time period. And it's very acute. And in that you're watching it with a warm feeling of nostalgia for those first weeks of lockdown, because it approaches it in the light way, as opposed to like, I think when it first started, everyone was like, no one wants to joke about this. No one wants to joke about like spraying packages and whatnot. It's like, ugh. And we don't really do those jokes, but being now removed from it, even seeing the image, you're like, I do remember when I was doing that, you know? And like, one of my favorite jokes in the movie is Zosha Rockmore is like, I'm trying to pick her up in a deli with masks on, and the clerk is like 6 feet apart, and I'm flirting with her, and I'm like, we got to really take this seriously. Tom Hanks has it now. and like that to me is just like, it's that.
Oh, I remember when Tom Hanks got COVID,
yeah.
it was a big deal. I was at the ArcLight with Yasser Lester, your former co-star. We were about to host a Black Monday premiere screening in a crowded movie theater. And that was a real moment. By the way, you do star in this movie with Jordana Brewster, who is obviously how did this get made royalty? I mean, Fast and Furious. Do you get any dirt? Any Fast and Furious?
I do get some dirt. I don't know how much of it I'm at liberty.
You
to
probably
say
can't.
They hold that franchise. You know, if you're in the family, you're in the family. You know,
it's family.
Yeah, it's family. They're not super liberal with the details, but like I would always keep an ear out for like scheduling conflicts, you know, or like there would be a couple days when I'd be like, well, we got to shoot Jordana out because she's leaving for Romania. I'd be like, oh, interesting.
By the way,
what
I gotta say,
in Romania, like
I didn't know much about her, but I got a bigger amount of respect for her comedy in the sense that when I saw her in Chad and JT Go Deep, like she's really funny in that. And I was like, oh, she like gets it.
She's great.
She's incredibly fun and just has a real because I've only really had my experience with her in those Fast and Furious films, which are very serious.
So I never knew her, but her sister Isabella was my first agent. So like I've known the Brewster family for a long time, and Jordana was like doing Fast and Furious right away and was like wanted to be an action star. Like that's what she was doing. So I never really met her or knew her. And then like the first day we were all in a church, you know, like shooting small movies in New York is like, shooting small movies anywhere is tough, but shooting them in California, there's a certain like the sunshine cures a lot of what ails you, you know, like,
right.
It's a lot easier to like have no trailer in California when you're like, you know what, I'll just go sit over there and it's nice out, you know, and
there's
I'll
a bench over there. I'll sit in the sun and read.
It's a lot easier. In New York, when you're making like an independent film, it's like -20. Most times you're in like a church basement, you know, or like a conference room of a no powered office, like left open office or something. And so the first day we were in this church, and it was freezing and we're running behind, and she was so chill and like joking around, and I had never met her. I didn't know what to expect. And she made this joke about like, I wouldn't be here if this wasn't a good script. And she said it so like flatly in like a joking way, right? That I was like, well, yeah. Yeah, that's none of us would be anywhere. Like, yeah. And from then on, I was like, oh, you're like, so you know exactly, you have the perspective of the whole industry. You've been doing it forever. Like most people who have been in it since they're kids are, I would say, easier to work with.
I think you're right about that. So now where can people watch it?
It's in New York, LA, and Miami on February 3rd at the local Angelica's and I don't know where in LA.
Your alternative art house movie theaters,
Yes,
your landmark theaters,
your landmarks, exactly.
But I do think that this movie also, if you don't want to get to a theater and you
don't
just
have
want
to,
you don't have to. Streaming.
It's streaming on demand. I'm sure it'll be at a streaming service somewhere, but I think right now it's on your cable boxes.
It's out in your city right now, either on your TV or in a theater. Go see it. It's the #1 movie in the country.
That's it. Beat out Avatar. Congratulations.
Yes, it's the #1 movie coming out on February 3rd in New York, LA, or Miami, and streaming at the same time. It's the #1 movie doing all of that.
Wow, this is
Aren't
exciting.
you so glad that you told James Cameron you wouldn't be in Avatar?
100%. I grew up a little bit in like Jersey, and so he wouldn't want me in it because I would call it Way of the Water.
Wait, Pally, while you're here, and I know we're promoting your movie, but I do wanna shout out to all of our listeners. I've said it before. Paul and I have talked about it, but your and Gabrus's show, 101 Places to Party Before You Die, is absolutely one of my top shows of last year. Absolutely fantastic. Now available on HBO Max to stream, if I'm not mistaken. If it hasn't been scrubbed from the servers.
No, we survived a tax. We're not a tax. We were so inexpensive they couldn't even make a tax break of us. Yeah. They were like, we just throw it up there. But it's on HBO and it's on most planes right now, which is really a trip. Which is
By
really
the way,
fun.
that's the best way. I see so many people watching movies that my friends are in, that I'm in, over the shoulders of people on planes, watching them on planes. Planes are, I find, the best place to watch a film.
Also a great place to watch a travel show while you're traveling.
That's what I'm saying. I Gabrus and I said, I guess we're working ... on planes.
Amazing.
It works.
By the way, great. It's such a funny show, and in that vein of like the Bourdain or Action Bronson or Stanley Tucci, all these kind of food-based travelogue shows. But there's something, you guys, your dynamic together is so fucking funny and so charming and so wonderful to like dip into your friendship that is so demonstrably on display that is also what is delightful to watch, just to be able to hang out with you guys. It's not like, oh my God, that burger looks so good, or oh my God, that blank looks so good. It really is. It's a hang. Yeah. And that's what I think is great.
Well, I really appreciate it. And I heard, I texted you guys. I heard you guys talking about the podcast before, and it was so sweet. And Gabrus isn't here, but the sweetest part was when you talked about Gabrus and his performance, because he is truly like, the hardest part of that show is being yourself at all, is not being like affected by what's happening. So,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like, you're running late, the show's going like this, the joke's not hitting. It's like the hardest part is just being like authentic. And Gabrus's performance is like just one of the best comedic performances in a TV show. Like I know it's not scripted. I know it's not scripted,
it's the best.
But like he's acting and he's great. And
it's so compelling to watch Gabrus just firing on all cylinders.
It's great. Yeah. And before
but
we
I would
go,
argue that you guys couldn't get there without the relationship that you both have, because it does have that sense of trust, that sense of play that I feel like you always want from these shows. But if you can't find people that really do trust each other like that, I think that's why Bravo essentially works, because even on some level, even with the fighting, these people will let their guards down and be who they are with each other. And that's the secret sauce. Like, you really want to see it. You don't see that on The Bachelor.
Lubrication.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, like, the whole secret to that show was just not caring about, like you said, like the burgers, the food. It was like the bits and honesty. So there would be times where we would be doing a bit, and mostly, as I'm sure Manzoukas can say, mostly it was my fault, where I would be like, we're going to hit this bit. Like, I would be like, do not give up on this bit. Like, let's keep doing this bit. We're going to hammer I'm not going to give up on this bit. Even though like 3 minutes ago, we had this amazingly in-depth conversation about like what happens when you die. And I like, and I would go away from it and be like, no, come on, we need like fun one-liners.
Your discomfort, of the emotionality would force you into a bit.
Yes. And then the scene, and not realizing that the scene is like, we'd have to say like, stop, like pull back, stop, and actually have that conversation about what happens when you die, and push through. Obviously I'm uncomfortable, but like push through that, because it'll, like in like every good improv scene, it'll lead to a better joke later. If you're just like,
a joke and that's what's so great is the joke, the show is so effortlessly funny, but in a way that is oftentimes through the exploration of genuine, heartfelt, emotional concepts and ideas and the things that you guys are going through, the show is suffused with that emotionality, but then still finding incredibly funny and silly bits.
Yeah, and I think that's who we are, and I wanted to say, and it's a good segue if I'm going to use one of your tricks, Paul, because before we go, I need to say thank you to you guys. Obviously said before, you guys are like two of, not just like the people I've watched the most, but literally the people I've spent the most time with, asking questions, and never once did either of you guys, I mean, I'm talking when I was like, 20, never once were you like, you're not going to make it. Both of you, from the moment, it was just like, yeah, let's go, learn it, keep going.
But that was like, that's part of the fun of like this world that we came from. And I was talking about this the other day, like the community that we came from in that UCB world that we were lucky to be a part of at the time that we were a part of it, like built this sense of like we were all super supportive in it together. I just had lunch with Ben Rogers today, who Action Boys podcast. Ben has a podcast coming out that I can't wait to.
It's his guy, the Nighthawk. Is it the Nightwolf?
Is it? No, it's something different. It is something.
Because have you heard that character?
Yes. Okay. This is not Nightwolf. This is
shit.
This is a different thing. I don't want to spoil it because I don't think he's announced it.
Don't spoil it.
It's really great. But we went out to lunch. I haven't seen him in a long time, but it was like, I saw him like a week ago. Like that kind of like, we have that kind of connection. I think we all have been incredibly supportive of each other all the way through.
Yeah, but you two specifically, and obviously like our crew, but you two specifically were in my life as teachers. And that is a relationship that is fraught with, it can be fraught with all sorts of stuff. And never once in my whole life did you guys ever not like throw the rope back down. And that is incredibly encouraging to a young comedian, And so like now to be 40 and like working, it's really, I owe a lot to you guys. So I really want to say thank you.
Wow.
Absolutely. I mean, and like to echo what Paul said, like I feel like this community that we came out of, what you're describing, how you feel about us, I feel about people above me who were always their successes made them turn around and pull me up. There was a way that was, I feel like that is the cycle that I'm so grateful to have both benefited from and then been on the other side and been able to help people from,
Yeah. And I feel like I continue to try to do it. But even still today, like you always need help in this industry. You always need to be like having help. And the fact that I can still, you guys still help me is amazing. So thank you.
Well, and I also just say like, we were shown that by the UCB4 when we first started there. Like as they got more famous, they let us start doing bits on Conan or introduced us to that world.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's no, I don't understand the downside of hoarding anything because it's sort of like, I don't know. There's different ways of approaching stuff, but yeah.
It's just so hard to get for anything to happen and especially now it must be hard to find a community, but it was truly lucky that it was a time and a place where like that was part of the thing too. It was like it was how funny you were, but also like, could you help someone out?
Yeah,
is part of the stock that you had. Like, can you help people who because the people here are the most funniest, so that will help you. And like that is an amazing thing to be part of.
Yeah, so being a part of a community that was so predicated on, yes, being as funny as possible, and yes, like a healthy sense of competition, but really the whole scene was predicated on support.
Yeah.
Like
those
everybody...
those Crossroad pictures are amazing. Amazing. I can't believe that was 10 years ago. And like, the amount of us that posted those pictures, like that's the amount of box office, like that's
Oh no, it's
crazy.
Really, you go back and you watch those shows and it's really impressive, and that is a document or a testament to a time and a place in our larger comedy scene that we all were, the whether we're on all on Kroll show together, we nonetheless were still doing improv shows with each other or going to see each other's
Every
sketch
Friday
shows
night.
or blah, blah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You know, I mean,
we started a long and important tradition. I think it started back with Corddry with Children's Hospital and continued all the way through so many different things, which is like, hey, will you come over here and work for a little bit of money, but it will be a lot of fun. And honestly, like, yeah, I'm psyched. It's like, and all of a sudden, like these networks are like, oh my gosh. And then you get these other giant people to come in and play because it just looks like fun. I always remember like we got Jeff Goldblum and J.K. Simmons to do some of the first, bits on NTSF just because they were excited to be in that community of people doing fun stuff. I feel like that
and
really,
it still is there. I mean, this movie is another, like all these little movies I get to make are like part of it. Like they have a lot of the same people. My third movie with Reed, like my second one with Zosha, like it's a lot of the same people because that's how I was taught to do it. Like, like you
have a little repertory company that you like working with. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you grow it and you grow it and you grow it. And like, that's, I know we're all over time, but I would feel remiss if I didn't, deeply thank you guys.
Well, you don't have to, but, I told Molly that I would. So now you have to. I mean, the other thing, we do ask everybody to. We ask Molly to kind of make sure that everyone does come in with at least something like that. So
and she caught me off guard. She said, "And what are you going to thank them about?" And I was like,
"Yeah,
oh,
yeah."
And so
the last segment is the thank yous.
Yeah. Luckily, I had something locked and loaded, but I'm sure it will be tough.
And underneath this, we're going to put the end music from SNL, the goodbyes.
put on what's his face saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, Teenage Fan Club."
Don Pardo's introduction of Teenage Fan Club.
Teenage Fan Club.
Who Invited Charlie? Out in theaters, select theaters in New York, LA, Miami, and streaming wherever you have like a streaming on demand service, which you have at Apple TV, Roku.
It'll probably be on your television.
Adam Pally, follow him on all social media, and we'll talk to you soon.
Later, guys. Thank you again.
Thank you, Pally, for chatting with us. Be sure to check out Who Invited Charlie in select theaters and streaming on VOD now. To all you singer and songwriters out there, remember, we are always accepting new theme songs for Just Chat and other last look segments. Send them to howdidthisgetmade@earwolf.com. Now that we got Wild Mountain Thyme out of the way, let's talk about next week's movie. We are going from a man who thinks he's a honeybee to a man obsessed with the number 23. That's right. Next week, we are watching The Number 23 starring Jim Carrey. Here's a short breakdown of the plot. A man's discovery of an obscure book about the number 23 leads him on a descent into darkness as he becomes more and more convinced the book is based on his life. Rotten Tomatoes gives this film a 7% on the tomato meter. And Anthony Quinn, not like the guy who played like Zorba the Greek, that's the thing, right? Zorba the Greek? I think that is. All right, anyway. Anthony Quinn from The Independent says, while dozing through this nonsense, you may wish to speculate on the number's real significance to this movie, possibly the IQ of its writer. Bam! Slam! Anthony Quinn fucking nailed it. All right, anyway, take a listen to the trailer for The Number 23.
The number, I'm seeing it everywhere.
What is 23? 2 divided by 3? 666. Number of the devil.
Walter Sparrow is about to discover
My birthday, 23. The social security number, it's all 23.
there is a side to him he can't control.
What's happening to me?
This Friday, he'll become his own worst nightmare.
This is not who you are.
Jim Carrey, Virginia Madsen, The Number 23, rated R.
You can stream The Number 23 for free on Tubi or rent it on Apple TV, Amazon, and YouTube. I encourage you all to check out Hoopla or Canopy, which are digital media services offered by your local public library that allows you to borrow movies, music, audiobooks, ebooks, comics, and TV shows to enjoy on your computer, tablet, or phone, and even your TV for free. That's it for today's show. Remember to rate and review. It helps. It really helps. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, make sure you are following us. Visit us on social media at HDTGM. And for commercial-free access to How Did This Get Made and our entire archive and so much more, sign up for Stitcher Premium for a free 1-month trial using the code BONKERS. A big thank you to our producers, Scott, Sonny, Molly Reynolds, our movie-picking producer, Avril Halley, our engineer, Alex Gonzalez, our publisher, July Diaz, our amazing artists, that's right, the ghost of Craig T. Nelson, that's Zach McAleese, on Instagram, and of course, Kyle Waldron, who also is on Facebook and Instagram. We will see you next week for the number 23.